Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Just Roll Already. I'm your host, Daryl.
I'm your other host, returning, Jeremiah.
And I'm John, as always, the inevitable rules lawyer.
Okay, welcome to Shop Talk. Today we will be talking about the little fun thing about pulling your punches, fudging the rolls, and just rigging everything. So I will admit in the times that I've ran games that I have pulled punches, but usually in the favor of the players. Well, actually always in the favor of the players, because it just makes a... Sometimes there's a point in the story that when everyone's going to die, you don't want them to die immediately, and it feels like, oh, great, we're all screwed.
Yeah, you can't let fun get pulled away from the game because that's why you play. So of course I could see why you'd fudge a number. I have discrepancies against it because I'm a firm believer in the system that it does work. If the system doesn't work, you might be able to, play another system.
I've fudged the system when I completely underestimated what something can do, like
guns.
Yeah, or like fall damage. Like I didn't realize
it can kill people.
Well, I didn't realize how much this person was going to take. Like, oh yeah, like 100 feet. Oh, all right, and now it's he takes 80 damage and he's like level 3.
The level 3 wizard. Oh
yeah. I don't think he's going to survive. And miraculously,
You hit a few branches. And
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
A level 1 wizard falling 20 feet couldn't die.
Exactly. Very like max. Like I roll 6. I just roll max damage.
Level 1 wizard has 4 hit points if you go 3.5 rules.
That's true.
They fall 20 feet because after the first 10, you take fall damage.
Yeah. And if they roll max for damage easily,
it's a D6. Hell, you got to get 4 or above.
Yeah, even average roll, they could die from it.
What wizard puts his points in con?
Exactly.
Yeah. I've never... When I was a player, I never liked fudging the rolls, but when I became a game master, I found that I was fudging more often than usual. But at a certain point, I actually started taking over. And yes, I sit there and I think, like, oh gosh, the party is getting killed by this monster that's too hard. They're either making stupid decisions, or it's just a string of bad luck rolls for them.
The way I approach it is that when I don't ever roll against the players. That's, like, in my opinion, the wrong thing to do. I set the DC.
Yeah.
Set a DC for everything. Just let them go at it. It's like, I know what the number is, you have to hit that number.
I am John, I am an automaton, your
I
logic
am
is...
automaton, X equals 35. If die roll does not equal X, then you do not, then, statement equals not unlock.
Now, to bring back a running meme, or trope, as you will, who shall not be gamed
Oh dear Lord
is probably
Almighty.
the opposite of what we're talking about when it comes to rigging. We'll rig it in the direction for his favor rather than the player's favor.
Regardless of what position he's in.
Yeah, regardless, but also on top of that, maybe sometimes if you think about it, sometimes rigging also pushes a person to rig their roles as a player. Because with him, I found that he puts the DCs at ridiculously high levels to begin with. Then on top of that, he makes, even for low-level encounters, insanely hard to the point that it's just brutal rape entirely.
You're level 1, here's 3 owlbears. Those are level 4s, though. Yeah.
Yeah, you're fine. Just there's owlbears.
Yeah, but that's what always happens. Something that's undefeatable by normal standards, and regardless of what you roll, you'll never succeed. But that's because he's fudging the rules the way it is. So what do players do to beat a person like that? They begin fudging their rolls as well, but in their favor.
Yeah.
And there's a degree that fudging does get rampant and overused, because now at this point, I almost never fudge. I sit there and I roll majority of the time out in the open, and everyone sees it. They look at it and they smile, they see the 1, or they scream when they see the crit. And I'm like,
scream, that's exaggeration.
Scream, you almost did a table flip on me.
Now, I was like, are you telling me that loaf of bread can't be sliced? In essence, that's what's going. Are you telling me that loaf of bread can't be sliced? Because I'm pretty sure this uber sharp sword will go through that loaf of bread. I'm like, nope, just it's uber bread. Like,
it made its reflex save. I'm sorry, John.
Bread made its reflex save.
Well, see, a big thing is I've contemplating rigging in my current game because my fights with you guys, you've noticed, I've been rolling crap. Every encounter I put up against them, I roll 1s on average. I'm rolling 1 out of every 3 rolls. I roll on a D20.
But you've also got a creature that it's flat-footed because it's grappling, and then it's freaking grappling a ship.
Well, no, I'm saying I roll a 1 to hit you.
Meh.
Almost every.
It can't see us.
Well, not I'm saying like the gangsters and the
Yeah.
one like I'm sorry, I'm just rambling on about some story that you people are unaware of, but basically in the game I'm running, every encounter I've had with John, my friend, and as you all know, Brady and Anthony, every encounter it's constantly I'm rolling ones and they're just steamrolling through everything. I'm like, what if I just went and just slapped the side of the die and oh look at that, it's a 20. Hey, that guy just critted you.
Yeah, the whole fudging thing brings up another thing that's related, but I'm not going to let it take over this conversation. GM screens. Okay. Because
yes.
I use GM screens too, but fairly recently I use them for their charts rather than rolling behind the curtain. It's just what I feel, but I found that when I use a GM screen, I am tempted more often to
Roll behind the curtain.
roll behind the curtain and just change what I want. And what's going to stop you from doing that? But then the players start getting paranoid when there's a string of really good rolls and they suddenly like hold you down as they roll your dice to make sure they're not loaded or you're not fudging the numbers.
The best way to do it is you don't fudge a number. You give her plus or minus. Based on situations, you don't want to actually change what the outcome was. In my firm opinion, like if it would have been a critical failure on their behalf and it may have killed all the mobs in one go, like he's stupid enough to fall into gunpowder with the torch or something.
Oh,
Make it a fail, but not like uber fail. Like he's smarter than that.
What would you? Okay, when you just said like falling in gunpowder, would you fudge stupidity? Would you roll in their favor if they did something so horrendously stupid and you know in your mind that it's dumb?
But the question is, would they do it? Would they be that stupid? That has to be the question.
Let's just say Mr. Buttersworth is playing a D&D character with an 18 intelligence. He runs into a burning building covered in oil and gunpowder kegs. Would you fudge the numbers for him?
He's rolling for himself. I don't roll for a player. That's one thing that I take to heart. You never roll for a player. No one else ever rolls for a player, whether they're away from the table or what.
Their destiny is in their hands.
Their destiny is in their hands.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if he's going to run into it, he's like, all right, you're going to make several reflex checks to avoid fire.
And
The
also-
DC's 3,700.
Yeah, because like the DC's is going to be astronomical anyways. So like he's not rolling, but he's set the roll effectively.
You're basically trying to get an ice cube through the Sahara Desert without it melting.
Yeah.
But
Without
Did I say it was dry ice? It doesn't matter. It's still hot and it sublimates.
you hold it in your hand and walk. That's
yeah, I vote for answering my own question. With stupidity, I am brutal with it. If somebody does something so heinously dumb, I look at them and say, you know what? Here, I'll roll out in the open for you. They're all like high numbers and they're ridiculous amounts of critical amounts of damage. And people look at it and say, well, how I like this character and everything. Is like, well, then you should have thought about before making an armor out of meat running through a pack of wolves. Because guess what? You're now dead.
Yeah, just freaking let them fall on their face. Like,
Yeah.
if they have something like, World of Darkness,
Yeah.
common sense is a thing.
that is a merit.
Yeah,
There's a merit.
and
A 1
the
point
lack
merit.
of common sense for anybody.
There's a 1 point merit called common sense.
Yeah,
where
I mean, that's-
if you're about to do something stupid
The GM will step in.
and say,
I've seen it where
Storyteller,
there's Mike, when he told me one time that he was running a game that everyone had common sense because he gave it to them because he was so sick of people doing dumb things that in real life you wouldn't even dream of doing.
yeah,
And it's just how it goes. I mean, I don't even think he fudges his numbers. He sits there and he's pretty straightforward himself. And yeah, fudging can be helpful for a cinematic approach when you're sitting there doing a story. Like, yeah, the fight's going too fast. Shall make these few rolls a little bit higher, give myself a +5 as opposed to a plus, instead of just rolling on the thing, give or take, or rolling on a curve. Because at that point, you're making an intriguing story. Yeah, I can see that as being a story plot thing, but then there is when it starts ruling the game, and there's no chance anymore when you're rolling a die.
Now, I've had people ask me when I've run my Frenia campaign, when they run into the scroll succubus with all the room that has all the exploding runes.
Yeah, I mentioned that in
Everyone,
the
we
tale.
said, yeah,
Stuff
that
on
was
the
a great
couch.
one.
Yes, well, now, the thing is, I've had people who've gone to that, and they've asked me, you ever thought about, like, maybe trying to, like, tone that down a bit, or maybe fudge that? Like, that's something I can't fudge it, because it's like, alright, this room has like 300 exploding rune scrolls, and each one does d6, I roll out. I'll take a percentile, roll the percentile of how many hit you, and then roll that many d6 for damage.
Oh, I figured out a way to legitimize that. She's casting permanency on them all.
Yeah.
Because they do dissipate. Anyway.
Oh, I was not aware of that.
They do dissipate. You have to cast permanency. So that's what she's using the XP
Bloody
for.
hell! Wow.
Remember
They're all
the 5th
done,
of November,
so-
the exploding runes was set.
Yeah, but you know, and that's the thing is like that right there. It's not really. I don't fudge it in the because if a player, it's more of my way of making players call back their greed, you know,
Yeah.
from looting. But like I've had players walk up and we were mentioning about stupidity. Like, do you ever, you know, and will I interject and say like, oh, you're about to do something horrible. Are you sure you want to do that?
You do that occasionally, but only if it's like really, really...
Obviously
really
dumb?
Obviously stupid.
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
about to punch this lion in the face. It's like, you're a wizard, right? Yes. You don't have any points in strength. You don't have any modifiers in strength, do you? No. And you're using an unarmed attack. Yes. And it has claws in their natural weapons. Yes. Okay, I'll let you do it.
You know, like, or instance, a rogue is about to stab a guy because some dude with PTSD told him to stab the guy. I would probably be like, now, do you want to stab a random civilian? And they're like, yeah, totally. I'm like, all right, go for it.
Again, people are too eager to kill, and
Yeah, that's true.
and again, it's just a matter of winning, and people fudge dice to win. Even game masters. Do you know that game masters win by losing? It's really funny.
Yeah.
It is because I don't want to like just kill my players off unless they do something stupid. But
I've tried to run brutal games like that before, but the temptation of fudging was too great, so I had to force myself to roll out in the open. And as a result, the Goblin games became so much more fun as everyone was screaming half the time and cheering the other time, because I remember Mike was gonna freak out, and he even asked me, like, can you just turn the die just one face for just this once? And I smiled and I said no. Because that's how the game was supposed to go.
Yeah, I never fudged my games when I played games. I fudged it with events.
Fudging event?
Like, you
That
know
could
how
be
it's
a-
like when you're fighting the
a
goblins
stuff-
and you're about to win, and then it's like, I curse you, and then he sends you back to time. falling through
GM
time,
intervention.
Lost.
GM intervention, yeah. The GM fiat stuff there, yeah. Well, I know
It's
somebody
the way that get them into the game.
I know that somebody who uses that as well. He should not be gamed who sits there and he just suddenly the goblin horde comes and kills the white dragon for you, or the plot man comes along.
No. The Goblin Horde stops you from killing the dragon.
Oh,
Yeah.
He would never kill it for you.
No, they wouldn't kill you
They
for
would,
you.
They would like merge together in some sort of new pseudo dragon made of goblin flesh.
Yeah.
Okay.
With
but-
goblin faces on it.
but then again, this could be an entire subject onto its own, so I think we're going to pause that part. So is there anything else on last roundabout thoughts on the fudging of numbers, or fudging on rolls?
If you're going to change numbers and alter it so that, you know, it's either one way or the other, you think through the situation clearly, think through it completely, and most certainly clearly and completely, because you need to make it legitimate. If you're just doing it to be doing it, you're doing it for the wrong reason. If you're doing it because of the fun, you may also be still doing it for the wrong reason. You need to do it because that is how it would legitimately come out.
Okay, Jeremiah?
I would say if you will fudge, always do in the favor of the player, never yourself, and do a limit. Be like, I will give myself 3 freebies tonight. Like, I'll have 3 die. Like, I just swap the die to change it to a number. Like, I'll give that player right there 3 opportunities to not do something stupid. Beyond that, I cannot help him.
I found that I learned that rolling on a curve, like sitting there saying, I need it to be... Okay, I make this attack, and it's too high. It's going to be a critical. Well, I give myself what I call a rolling curve. I give myself a set number of points that I can take or add to a roll based on what I decide, and just move accordingly within that point. It's not suddenly a critical one, but it's within various reasons. So that's what I usually do, is rolling on a curve. If it's too easy, I raise the curve upwards. If it's too low, I curve it downwards. That's all I can say that I do, and what I think is, if you're going to make it a more cinematic story, or for story reasons, I don't see a problem with fudging. Just don't let it rule your game.
Yeah.
It can just make it unfun for you, and that's what's the point of rolling dice. You sit there and they roll a die and you tell them to succeed or not, just without rolling yourself. So anyways, I think that's going to wrap it up this episode. Like, comment, subscribe below. You can also email us at our Gmail at justrollitalready@gmail.com. I'm your host, Daryl.
I'm your other host, Jeremiah.
And I'm your host, John.
Have a good day.